Alright, so in this last video for this section, I wanted to introduce XAMPP, which can be used to mimic server-side technologies when you're doing web development on your local machine. So what I've done up to this point really didn't incorporate any server-side technology. So we didn't use, we weren't interacting with the database, we weren't using PHP or anything. So I was able to basically run that just from my local computer, and I had a folder structure that was basically what the web directory would be like. So once it was developed, I could move it over to a server and use it. However, if your website's going to use some server-side technologies like PHP or a database or something, you can't really do it that way because you don't have those database technologies active. So if you want to do development where you need those technologies, then you're going to want to set up kind of a mock server environment to test things. So for web development, the most common way people do this is with XAMPP. So XAMPP basically stands for XML, Apache, MariaDB database, PHP, and Perl. So this allows you to use these technologies as a local host on your machine to test out your website prior to launching it on a server. So Apache is basically allows you to run a server. MariaDB is based database management. PHP is a server-side language. Note that this is free, and there are builds for different operating systems. So we have a build here for Windows, Linux, Mac, so on and so forth. Okay, so again, you could go in and download and install that. I already have, so I'm not going to go through that process. It's pretty simple. All right, so once you've installed it, if you go to the folder on your machine, that's not it, XAMPP, we have a couple different objects in here. So this first one is, or this one we're going to look at is a XAMPP control panel. So I open that up. And then that produces this. So note there's a couple different technologies that you can use here. For this, I'm just going to turn on Apache. So hit start. And here we have a port number, so that's the port it's basically listening on. Note that you may have issues with that, and if you do, you might have to change the port, like for example if another piece of software is using it. I generally haven't had issues with that on any of my machines. Generally the default port number works. Okay, so to actually use these technologies, you have to put your web content in a specific folder on your machine. So I'm going to go to my C drive and then XAMPP. And inside of here, I have this htdocs folder, and this is where you'd have to store your website. So I made a copy of the cat site into this htdocs folder. So if I did a open as brackets project, now when we're doing our development, we should have access to these server-side technologies. So again, in this course, we don't really get into a lot of server-side stuff, so we're not really going to have to do this much, but I wanted to note that because a lot of people use this, and if you take another course or an advanced course where you do server-side stuff, you'll probably interact with these types of environments as you do your development.